A wizard is never early, Darkstrider. He arrives precisely when he means to. Hello, everybody. Time for a cracker and some cheese. This is not my usual... this is the same cheese I had last time. Hopefully everything will be fine with the stream today. Cheers. Ding. Hopefully. Well, I'm in the Gandalf region. I have had a glance at the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. It looks good. I'm going to pick up the hard copy of that. Well, it's still pretty gnarly cheese. It's a pretty intense blue cheese. There you go. That bad boy. It's just not the same as the Capity cheese because I haven't been able to get into the supermarket to get some. So this is the Horopito cheese, I believe it is. It's a New Zealand blue cheese. Cheese whiz. Everything is fine over here. So we've got... New Zealand is a stark contrast to what a lot of people are experiencing overseas, particularly in the States right now. It has to be said that we've got a very well respected, empathetic, communicative, clear leadership in New Zealand at the moment, and so we're getting updates daily. Jacinda is actually going on Facebook Live, so our leader is talking to us on Facebook Live and answering questions. So, it's a stark contrast. At the moment, we've got something like 480 odd cases. I don't think we've got any fatalities yet. We've got, just the other day, there was like 50 people recovered in that one day. So we'll see, because the nation is currently locked down for the next 3 weeks at least, we'll see it rise up to, in the south, in thousands of cases, and then it will plateau and it will sharply drop off. So we're not expecting to see any difference in the cases here over in New Zealand for the next 2 weeks anyway, 10 days or so. So yeah, there you go. That's how it's. And of course, I work from home anyway. I've always been fairly well stocked up on stuff because I just overbuy stuff when I go supermarket shopping anyway. So I am fine. Absolutely fine. I'm in my bubble here with the loved ones who I can go shopping for them and stuff. So it's all good. Yeah. I actually haven't read the Legend of Driss yet, Josh. I've read all of the other ones after that, but I haven't read those sort of precursor ones. So the first 3 novels that are actually written much later. Have some more cheese. That was really nice cheese. Right. Yeah, I just saw that Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of England, has got it. That's a good question, Darkstrider. I'll be happy to answer that one. Have to forgive me, this is my breakfast. So the question is, what happens when a dragon takes over a city or country? What are the effects both on a hidden dragon and an open one? Well, normally when a dragon does that, they do it openly. It's part of the ego of dragons that they like to do things openly. They like to be in charge and they like everybody to know it, typically. Green dragons, on the other hand, can do it remotely. But if a dragon is on site, if they decide to lair in that city and take it over, they will, once they reach a certain point where they decide that they are unassailable, they will declare themselves openly as the leaders and rulers of that place. This has taken place with gold dragons as well. Gold dragons are quite well known during the time of the elves to have taken up leadership positions in elven courts and essentially appoint themselves king. You'll hear me mentioned in my... I'm going to be releasing the Dragon Gods video pretty much straight after this live stream. And you'll hear me talking about a little hint of what gold dragon culture is, which I haven't really covered before because the last gold and silver dragon that I did was a combined, very old video that didn't really cover a lot of information. But gold dragons have a very complex society, and they have a king, so to speak. So, yeah. Yeah, aside from green, yeah, exactly. So it really depends a lot on the behavior of the dragon, and of course their type of dragon determines a lot of their behavior, just as a rule of thumb. Although there can obviously be aberrant behavior in dragons, so particularly like brass dragons can be very greedy, like to a dark and dangerous extent. Yeah. What is the end game of the D&D universe? Asher, there isn't really one, unless you say there is one. Everything is left open-ended or on the cusp of becoming action-packed and resolving. But really, the point of the D&D universe is for you to stage your stories there. So it's to give you an exciting backdrop in which you can play out your stories and your narratives. The D&D universe doesn't really have an end game in itself. The biggest monster in D&D would be a stellar dragon, essentially, because they can range in the thousands of miles long. So they're one of the largest living life forms that you can find, aside from gods themselves. Blue dragons, I've often referred to blue dragons as like the mafiosos. So they have a mob, essentially. Think of Jabba the Hutt's palace as a perfect example of what a blue dragon lair would be like. So extend that to being the crime lord of a city, and essentially the crime syndicate takes over, and that's a blue dragon taking over your city. Hey there, 1625251515917RH1F36. Do you feel that high CR demon lords and archdevils are underwhelming for high-level players? Not if you play them properly, because essentially they're surrounded by an army. They have thousands of devils and other monsters under their command. So the players should never actually get to go into conflict with those guys, or as soon as that devil on its home plane realizes that it's in a life or death situation, it will immediately gate out of there and go to somewhere else. Because they want to preserve their immortal life, because they can be destroyed on the Nine Hells. If you've actually gone there to their home turf to fight them, they can be destroyed. So they leave because they're smart. You missed the Forgotten Realms? What do you mean? Was a great setting. It still is a great setting. Killing Tharizdun, you can't actually kill Tharizdun. He is the entropic force of the multiverse. So, unfortunately, if you destroy Tharizdun, you destroy the multiverse. That's why he's imprisoned and not killed. At least that's how the narrative goes in D&D. You cannot kill that which does not live. An Underdark Harpy, the Dire Corbies are probably what you're looking for. Look up Dire Corbies. They might fit the bill. You beat D&D when you become the DM. Yeah, pretty much. It's going well, Sergeant Wolf. Thank you. Oh, is there a possible way to go through the Divine Gate in the lore? You mean the gate at the top of Mount Celestia? Essentially, you need to go through the ranks and become an archangel. And then you're deemed worthy to essentially take on the mantle of godhood. So I think it would be by invitation only. Or you could say that if mortals want to go to Ravnica or somewhere like that, the Divine Gate at the top of Mount Celestia is your portal to other multiverses. That doesn't go through the Far Realm. So it's your way of getting there with your being intact. Of course, you kind of ascend to godhood automatically when you do that, temporarily, to get from one multiverse to another. That's my take on it. Hey, thanks, Bear. Just saying hi before you go back to work. Where are you working? Are you in essential services? Yeah, Dire Corbies are creepy. No, there's no rehabilitation for Tharizdun's madness, because he's not mad, in a way. He sees things how they are. He sees that the D&D multiverse has been corrupted by demons who are from outside. So it's like it's an infected petri dish as far as he's concerned, and he wants to reset it. But that would destroy all of the current structure of the multiverse and destroy all the gods. So the gods banded together and said no, and essentially kicked him out. It's the same old narrative. The young gods take out the old gods. What do I think about the Dunamancy? It's interesting. It's my friend Ian, the editor for my channel now. If you go to Red NZ Blue and look at his channel, he's just put out a video on Dunamancy, which is very interesting. Thanks. Has D&D always had a singular story across each edition, or does it reset with each edition? No, it's a continuing narrative. So particularly in the Forgotten Realms, it evolves by about a century or so each time there's a new edition that comes out. Although in this one we're at 1492 DR. So it's kind of advanced like almost 200 years, I think. Which makes it kind of difficult because a lot of the NPCs, we haven't had updates on them since their grandparents, really, unless they're elves and stuff. Like, who is the current ruler of, I don't know, Sembia? You'll have to ask Ed Greenwood on Twitter. Weirdest thing I've done in a campaign? Gotten drunk with a Fey Lord, probably, most recently. Demons taking over, yeah, they invaded the multiverse of D&D. Ian with two eyes is probably asleep right now. He was up until about 5 o'clock in the morning editing the Dragon Gods video, because it's 54 minutes long and he did a pretty outstanding job on it. But he wanted to make sure he got it right. Gold and silver dragons are more hard-edged. They're more lawful in their alignment than the brass and copper dragons, particularly copper dragons. So gold dragons are more leadership, so think storm giants, and silver dragons are more prosecution, so think paladins and things like that. And silver dragons will generally defer to the gold dragons. So there's a pecking order there. Thanks, Games by Mark Wolf. Orcus being a facet of Tharizdun. That's the first I've heard about it. You'll have to explain that one. Your video... Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'm interested in learning about Dunamancy. I'm not going to talk about it until I've read up on it. If the main three gods were dragons, where did the other gods come from? The ones in the Forgotten Realms, that is. Oh, well, okay. First of all, you'll see me, I go on quite a bit, for like 12 minutes in the video, talking about what role the dragon gods have in the multiverse. You'll see that pretty quickly, that I'm very clearly defining what I'm talking about, because the dragon pantheon is so ancient, it's very diverse. And of course, the different worlds, the different world settings have got different versions of the same god names and things like that. And quite often gods will have different names across different places. So you'll hear me refer to Io or Asgarath as I'm talking about the same entity across the multiverse. Dragon gods and dragons are pan-dimensional beings. So dragons exist on the world of Toril, but they're not native to Toril originally. They came to Toril from outside. And so Io, for instance, according to the dragon's point of view, Io is the multiverse, essentially manifested. So the phlogiston is the blood of Io and things like that. So it conflicts with what the other mortal races think of as their deity and their pantheons and things. So one of the things I point out at the start of the video is that don't confuse the mythology of the races of Dungeons and Dragons for the reality of the cosmic structure of the multiverse. Because if you did think that everything that they thought of in their religions was real, then you're going to run into a multiverse which makes no sense whatsoever. Case in point is... Hello, Fly. Case in point is the Darrow, whose mythology, their religion, covers up their origin story as being tortured slaves from another world who got transported to Toril. And so they inserted themselves into the traditional dwarven pantheon, borrowed one of the gods of the dwarven pantheon as being their creator. So their mythology doesn't match up with their reality at all. No, the strongest metallic dragons are gold. Although they're not the largest, they are certainly the most powerful. Thanks, Robert. Wanted to ask this last week. How should I make a stat blocks for graboids, shredders, and arse blasters from the Tremors series? Go by their size category to begin with. Use the purple worm as a template. And also, I would say the boulet and something like a Zorn. Those are probably the closest things for like burrowing. They've obviously got a burrowing speed. They've got tentacles that grab, and they've got the ability to... I don't think they actually swallow people whole in the movies so much. So probably just a grabbing, holding thing. Shriekers. I haven't actually seen there must be some movies or something like that, or a TV series that I've missed, because I'm not familiar with shriekers and arse blasters. But graboids, certainly. Yeah, I mean, don't forget also that Tharizdun would be mighty angry when if he found out what has been done to him. What are you asking me, Jab Cab? Hang on, I'll just go back. Getting drunk with Faye is always fun. Did you ask me a question? Can't seem to find it. Get a lot of questions. What happens if an Elder Evil Ragnora landed on Atropos? I don't know. My room's quite warm at the moment, and this fly's buzzing around, unable to sense that I'm a hot thing in a hot environment. So it's trying to land on me. Yeah, I've done many things in many different campaigns. Well, the Gem Dragons, Sam, are neutral, and they're aloof. They don't want to get involved in dragon politics or real world stuff. They basically just stick to their hordes and and their own locality. They like actually to be as remote from human civilizations and elven and dwarven civilizations as they can for the most part. Their ruler, the god that's kind of involved with them, is Sardior, and I talk about him in the video as well. Sardior looks like a stretched out, huge red dragon that is actually ruby red. And unlike the fierce and combative red dragon, Sardior is sardonic, witty, and conversational. Not to be confused with nice. And he's also the god of psychic powers in the dragons as well. So he probably has a lot to do with dragons that are outside of the neutral gem dragons, such as the deep dragons, psychic deep dragons, for instance. Maybe not, yeah. Tharizdun's the looming threat of your Saltmarsh game. Yeah, he is really good as the ultimate bad guy. Can there be a half human, half gem dragon? Well, essentially that would be a half dragon with pretty scales. Listen, fly. I'm going to hit you with some fly spray in a second. Fly wants to be famous. I guess Buried Axeblade? Again, I need to read up on the Echo Knight. Y'all asking me about something I haven't read yet. Like, give me a break, man. I wrote an 18-page script for a Dragon Gods video while I was supposed to be reading Wildbound. It only has 2 eyes and 1 brain. Tremors has 7 movies and 13 episode series and an 8th movie on the way, all in the same continuity with Burt Gunner as the star. Oh, the survivalist guy. Excellent. I love him. He's great. I've been watching him since Family Ties. Perfect. Such a different character from his Family Guy's Mr. Keaton. Boy, I bet that show is dated horribly. Family Ties. You have to excuse me, everyone. I'm quite hungry this morning. The Adamantine Dragon is technically a planar dragon. So they fall outside of the original civil war that split the dragons into chromatic and metallic. But they're on the good side, so they would be metallic. Hey, Mr. L. Do a video on the Domains of Dread. Yeah, getting around to it. I did make a Ravenloft video. The Domains of Dread are a little more complicated, and also some of the Domains of Dread are a little bit silly. Has to be said. I mean, it's basically, I want to play, Frankenstein, or I want to play a Hammer horror movie. I want a town made of ghouls. That's what the Domains of Dread are like in many ways. The mead is going to get bottled up tomorrow. That's what's on the cards for tomorrow, is me bottling mead. Tonight, after I've uploaded the Dragon Gods video, I'm going to be preparing to make dinner for my parents next door. Going to be cooking them some an Indian chicken dish. What can you say about the links between Ravenloft and Glantry? Not much. I have made my own cheese. Yes, I made some feta cheese last year. Simply because I haven't had access to those movies, Robert. Now I know that they exist, I can go and find them. Geez, Buried Axeblade, your text is very hard to read today. You're like speaking a shorthand, I don't understand. What's next for Spelljammer-related content? Probably races, some of the unique races, like the GIF, for instance. What do I think happens canonically? I'm going to catch that fly, I swear. He's slow and uncaffeinated. What do I think happens canonically after Descent into Avernus? Baldur's Gate 3, or do you have a theory? Oh, is Baldur's Gate 3 related? It might not be, actually. Bear in mind that a lot of these companies are working on products independently and they don't share information. Like, for instance, while I was working on the lore for the latest Forgotten Realms video game that I was working on with Took Games, I had no idea what was going on with Baldur's Gate 3. I would say that the creative team at Wizards of the Coast is keeping track of things, and they would give steer companies in different directions depending on what the content they want. But they don't inform everybody what the overall plan is. Cast Disintegrate on the fly. Actually, I've got some fly spray that just knocks shit out of the sky immediately. But I don't want to do that because I'm stuck in this room for an hour or so. And I don't necessarily want to breathe it. The good news is, those of you who've been following me on social media will know that just before this plague hit, I had a rat some mice in my ceiling that were driving me crazy because they were like scuttling around and making lots of noise. So I threw some bait up there, some rat poison, under the assurance that, once they eat it, they'll get thirsty and look for water and they'll leave the building and die. That's a myth. They died in the ceiling and stunk out the place. So here I was, facing 30 days of being confined to quarters with the coronavirus, and I've got a dead rat in the roof stinking out the place. I thought, that's irony for you. Plague rat. Vengeance of the plague rat. Taking a break? Am I not considering taking a break? No, Frederick, I'm not. That was just the second video. I also made the video on playing games of D&D for free, and basically just some basic advice for running games, or your first games, or getting back into it. Some other videos. I'm probably not going to be putting out any more 1 hour long videos this coming week, but you never know. I've got an artifact that I want to talk about, and what else? I think I might start researching the Book of Vile Darkness and make a video about that for you. Cloud kill in a can. Yeah, very much, Brother Mutant. Hey, thanks, Nobody Special. So my first super chat about the query I made last. Well, that doesn't help me. The yaunty one I made, again, doesn't help me. Don't be cryptic, man. Use the opportunity to write what you mean. Because otherwise you're making me go looking back for your comment and scrolling back and I can't find it. How long ago was it? 10 minutes? 20 minutes? Just tell me what you're asking me. What about the yaunty? Thanks, DeWall. No, I haven't caught the coronavirus. I am very much quarantined. About the only excursions... Yeah, the Halfling video was long, but it needed to be long. And also, I'm just making these extra length videos for people who, have got the time to watch them at the moment. So, it's a public service, you could say. I've never been shy about making long videos. People know this. No, I haven't got the coronavirus. I'm basically stuck at home most of the time anyway, so I'm already pretty much a hermit. or a wizard, you could say. And about the only thing that's different at the moment is that there's some chores and things that my parents do for the food bank in town, like picking up bread from supermarkets and things like that. And I have to go in and do that, and not them. They have to stay in the car because they're past the age of 70, therefore they're at high risk. That fly is back. So yeah. There it goes. Hang on a minute. That fly just got a bad case of the corona spray. My cheese. It'll be fine. Oh, thank you for the love of the page. Sorry about that. Love your vids. Aspiring to start a channel. Tips. Okay. First of all, I'm quite happy to talk to people and mentor them if they're starting out a YouTube channel and give them some pointers and directions. That's what I'm doing with my friend Ian. It's working quite well. His channel's progressing much better than I did when I started out. There are some things which certainly some people starting out will have strengths in, and some they'll have weaknesses in. My main weakness, of course, was audio when I started my videos, and also general tips like writing a script helps you speak without putting ums and ahs in there every 5 seconds. So I had a bad habit of going and making lots of vocal pauses. Writing scripts and reading from them and recording them and doing that with a sort of video montage of images like I do. I'm still improving every single day. Oh yeah, that fly's not happy. Any second now, I'm waiting for the but yeah, things like, little loopholes and things like that, and how to navigate YouTube as it is now, what sort of tags to use, keywords, putting titles that are friendly for keyword searches and things, what topics to cover, what your interests are, listening to your audience, interacting with people, letting them sort of determine the direction that your channel goes. Yeah, stuff like that. Thanks, Josh. Don't forget to roll for your constitution check. That fly spray is so toxic it makes the tip of your tongue numb. Well, it could be the cheese. No, it's definitely the fly spray. I think that's what, because it's got this instant knockdown thing, I think that's whatever the instant knockdown stuff is. What is this? Raid Max. Multi-insect killer. Oh, Spring Meadow scent. I don't know why they even bother with putting scents in this stuff, because it always tastes like absolute ass. What are the active ingredients? Malaria, Cryptosporidium, Ebola, fly AIDS. Oh, there you go. Doesn't say. Active ingredient, death. I'd say it's probably a pyrethrum type thing. Oh, here we go. Active improthrin, prelethrin, and chifluthrin. So, nasty stuff. Just 8 comments above the super chat there. Oh, okay. Thank you. Eight of your comments or 8 general comments? Rewriting it. 1 sec. What? Oh, here we go. Here it is. How might a Yuan-Ti society taken over by a powerful black dragon change, coexist, and evolve, and how might it impact their transformative rituals and such? There's the short of the query. Sorry. Okay. Yuan-Ti society is highly resistant to being taken over by a black dragon because black dragon regimes are unstable. Yuan-Ti are interested in long play, so immortality. That's what their whole goal is. They live for thousands of years. At least their nobility does. They're also very good at infiltration and manipulation as well. So they will actually manipulate something like a green dragon to come in and take over the black dragon's territory. Green dragons are a little bit higher up on the pecking order. They might even get a red dragon involved to beat the crap out of the black dragon, which they would be quite happy to do so. Or incorporate infiltration into a human kingdom or something like that, and basically drop hints that there's a dragon's treasure hoard nearby, and recruit them to do that. So it would have to be a very crafty black dragon to pull off taking over the Yuan-Ti. The Yuan-Ti have been around for thousands of years. They are a fairly decadent and retired culture in a way. They've pulled back a lot from the world, but they are a former empire, and they've got a lot of powerful artifacts and things like that they can draw upon. As for their rituals and things like that, it might actually be more likely that they have formed an alliance with the Black Dragon and transformed the Black Dragon somehow using their foul magics. So the Black Dragon may actually be possessed by an avatar of one of their dark gods. So I think that's a more interesting play on. Instead of changing the Yuan-Ti to fit the Black Dragon, you change the Black Dragon to fit the Yuan-Ti. I hope that answers your question. Sorry about that. Green dragon in real life. Yeah, I just spray poison all around my room and I'm just like, it's fine. AIDS and death. Danny, sorry. Danny, hello AJ, could you please do a video on the Void Dragon and Void Plane, since it seems to fill the role of the Far Realm being the edge of creation, or more accurately, the sea? I have no idea how to say. Like a gap between the Far Realm and the regular multiverse? I've got to read up on the Void Dragon from Tome of Beasts, for instance. Was it Tome of Beasts? I think it is. Or is it the Creature Codex? Because it's not really a part of the lore for Forgotten Realms, I believe. Must be Creature Codex. And I'm very interested in the Eldrazi from Magic the Gathering, which are creatures, elder beings that live in the void. Oh, this is the one. Tome of Beasts has got the void thing. Where are we? Where's the big bad? There's some really gnarly creatures in this. Where is you? There it is. This one, the Void Dragon. This is the one you're talking about. So I could certainly talk about them from the aspect of the Midgard setting that Kobold Press is coming out with. A dragon seemingly formed from the night sky has bright white stars for eyes. Lesser stars twinkle in the firmament of the dragon's body. Again, this is only a gargantuan dragon, so it's way less impressive than a stellar dragon, for instance. So you got to wonder where it would fit into the dragon hierarchy of cosmic dragons. Outer planar dragons, maybe. Is it like, could it be an astral manifestation of something? Hey, welcome to Bronze Dragon, Josh. So yeah, I can certainly make a video about them. Because I've been meaning to get videos out about them. Yeah, I'd say there's probably scum dragons. Yeah, aboleth experiments, for sure. I'd like to make a video about the brain stealer dragon as well. That would certainly be popular. Scary snake people manipulate even dragons. Yeah. Black dragon is avatar of Dendar the Night Serpent. Yeah. Or a shadow dragon. Yeah, more likely. Did you miss the answer to the random clue letters, Kick-Ass Duke? The prize has been won, by the way. Ian Wright won it. Thank goodness he lives in Australia, so the shipping cost for me for the grand prize is not that huge. Still pretty hefty. And essentially what it was a YouTube address to a video. So that's why I said you needed all the clues in order to get the answer, because without all of the letters you wouldn't be able to actually get to the video. Wouldn't happen to know what orc tribes live near the Sword Mountains from the Sword Coast? Well, they would be probably from Obold's tribes, the Thousand Orcs, which means that they would be grey orcs from the Spine of the World Mountains, most likely, not Thayan orcs. So they'd be of the more sort of snout-nosed variety. But no, I'd need to look that up for you. Which I'm happy to do. What's the proper term for a baby dragon? That would be a wormling is a newly hatched dragon, and then it's just a young dragon. By the way, what's the story with the hipster demi-lich on the second shelf below the Green Dragon? Is it related to Acerarak? No, this is a USB speaker. Which I'm particularly fond of. Starts up with a Vincent Price laugh. So yeah, I love this thing. It's quite a good speaker actually. Thanks, Robert Wilson. The dragons grow in number, it's true. Is there any lore on changelings? Yes, there is. Mostly 4th edition. Can I please talk about the Nightwalkers? Nightwalkers. I have mentioned the Nightwalkers before. They play a kind of like they're a worst case scenario sort of thing. Like the Nightwalkers come over to the material world when there's a sufficient amount of life which is crossed over there, and you can only get them to leave when you bring that life back, sort of thing. Yeah. I did do a video on the Clockwork Dragon. Or did I? I think I did. I've made so many videos I've forgotten the ones. Yeah, dragon hatchling and a dragon and a wormling. Yeah. So hatchling would be like days, and wormling would be just before they've left the Vince's price is priceless. Coolest living dragon on Faerun? Probably the prismatic dragons. Not to go on the what ifs. If Tiamat was to be successful in the rise of Tiamat, what would it mean for Faerun and the Dragon Pantheon? So Tiamat is known to be fecund. So she is quite capable of filling a world with her children, in whatever form that may be. So she actually may take over the world using something similar to the Draconians of Krynn. she would spread out a massive army, an invading army of Dragonborn-esque, or half-dragons essentially, and dragon spawn. Dragon spawn, such as blue dragon spawn, are huge god killers. So yeah. And of course the chromatic dragons would flock to her. Sort of games by Mark Wolf. I've talked about the D&D cosmology a bit, probably more so than many other channels, really, because it's part of my evolving fascination with the D&D multiverses, the planes of existence and things like that. And I think I've got a fairly good bead on it now, although some people object to my use of like phlogiston and planescape and stuff like that as being default. It very much is. So I'm beyond arguing with it on that point. I just don't entertain anybody who doesn't like using Spelljammer because it's included in so much of the lore throughout the game. So, move with the times. It's so much more convenient. And what's the alternative? A big void of space with light years between stars. That's boring as hell, Did I do a video on the shard mines? Probably. Quite some time ago. Oh, nice, amigo. So shard mines, 4th edition. There was a living god that contained a race of her own creation, and she was a lattice that separated the prime material universe from the psychic intrusions of the far realm. And for whatever reason, a cadre of gods basically had a fight there and shattered that goddess. And the fragments of the goddess became these crystal shards that manifested in humanoid form to become shard mines. And also the race that was living inside her, which are this interesting dwarf-like species called the Quam, went on a crusade to take all the shards back and reconstruct their goddess somehow. And although they don't see what they're doing as evil because they're trying to restore their goddess, who is good, what they do, however, is liberate those shards wherever they are, and sometimes they're inside living things, or being the power source of powerful artifacts. So they will destroy artifacts and kill living beings to liberate the shards. And of course, if they come across a shard mine, they'll kill them on sight. Ah, food worker, right. Yeah, Phyrexians in D&D would be fantastic. Coolest is definitely white dragons, yeah. What dragon types are currently canon in 5e? Just the chromatics and magalics? No, all of them. They might not have been covered yet, but they haven't disappeared. There's still gem dragons and things like that in 5th edition, for sure. More D&D YouTubers should talk about outer space. I agree. Yeah, Cthulhu mythos is sort of woven into D&D. It's sometimes a little bit difficult talking about that stuff, like the King in Yellow, for instance, or yeah, you can throw in all sorts of different elements into Dungeons and Dragons. It's robust enough to take it. You can throw in Nurgle and Slaanesh and stuff like that if you want to. In fact, I'd love to do a video on Papa Nurgle and Slaanesh and yeah, Tzeentch. Yes, of course they've got McDonald's in New Zealand. Got Taco Bell too. Yeah, that's true, Matt. That actually discouraged me a lot from doing any more Eberron videos because it's kind of I'm not a big fan of Eberron in the first place. So a really like salty, die-hard Eberron fan comes into the comment section and just tears me a new one, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck you. I won't do Eberron anymore. Mission accomplished. Make the videos yourself, Mr. Expert. Moist Nurglite lover. I'm not going to publish that comment. Oh, is it? Okay, yumped up. Question: Warlocks. Are there different patrons for warlocks of demon lords as opposed to devils? Yeah. Yep. As always, Corey, if you want there to be so, then there is. The lore stops at the edge of the page, and then once it hits your brain and then hits the game table, it becomes whatever you want it to be. And I will not dictate the terms of your games. I'll never tell you that you're playing wrong. Well, sometimes you play wrong. If you're telling the DM that, no, that didn't happen, that's playing wrong. Thanks, Kikastuke. Prismatic dragons, plural. What are the approximate numbers of the epic dragons on any crystal sphere? I can't imagine they're very active. No, they wouldn't be. The numbers would not be huge. So you're talking maybe like 4 or 5 prismatic dragons for the entire sphere of realm space. So they would. Don't forget, there's many other worlds in the realm sphere. So yeah, they would probably spend a lot of their time hanging out on other planets. There's a dangerous worlds in the Forgotten Realms sphere. I should probably do a video on those too. AJ said to swear. Yes, yep, I do swear. Don't forget that most of the people who watch my channel are adults over the age of 18. So the fact that I don't swear is not because I'm worried about censorship and stuff. This is not a kiddie channel. So I don't know why I don't swear more often. I guess because it's just unnecessary. So it's much more effective if you don't swear all the time, that when you do swear, it means more. Yep. Azuth has been consumed. Nurgle is just very loving. Yeah, essentially, Frederick, I agree. Like, if you come at the fandom like somebody's made a video about something that you're passionate about, and then you attack them for it, congratulations, your hobby, your interest dies. It never extends past those books because you've killed any living interest in it. So, congratulations, you're sitting on your hoard of books that are becoming more and more static and unmoving. This is what happened to the entire hobby in like the early 90s, I think it was. Pretty much D&D just existed on message boards and things like that. It wasn't really, it was nowhere near as popular as it is now. And so what happened was that a lot of the old school fans weren't buying new products, so the companies just were going belly up because they couldn't sell anything to people. Every time they did try and put out a new source book, it got panned and people roasted them for a money grab, even though they're professional publishers, for God's sakes. And the hobby was dying because of this protectionist gatekeeping attitude of old school grognard fans. So when I see instances of that sort of attitude coming out of people, I feel inclined to nip it in the bud. I take it personally because I've lived through what that does to the hobby. If anybody is not welcoming and opening and accepting to any sort of change and evolution of the role-playing hobby, then you're killing it, essentially. You've got to let it do what it does. It needs to percolate through the mainstream and turn into whatever the mainstream wants it to be. And we just need to let it go. Say, okay, it's not affecting our game. We can still play whatever games we want, but we need to give these people the opportunity to turn D&D, to let D&D be something new and see where it goes. It's an alternate way of thinking. It's a different philosophy. It's a different way of entertainment, and we haven't seen its ultimate form. We don't know where it's going to go. So don't be protectionist about D&D. It's not yours. You don't own it. It's living. It belongs to everyone. Yeah, I don't knock people for feeling protective about the things they love. I'm just saying that your influence extends exactly as far as your skin. you don't tell people what to do. Don't tell people, how to think and etc. So if you can't see, if people couldn't see what I was doing with the Eberron video of explaining how it would fit into the multiverse of like a 5th edition thing, then too bad. And also they were arguing it. They were coming at me with. I was reading from the latest stuff on Eberron, right, and also the 2nd edition stuff, and or 3rd edition, I should say. And they were stuck very firmly in. They read so far in the source books, and then they stopped because it reached a point where there was an unacceptable amount of change coming into what they thought was the perfect Eberron. So they never read any further than that. And then they're arguing with me making a video because what I'm saying is conflicting with what they've read because they've never read any further than 3.5 edition. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm not even going to argue with you. You've got no basis for arguing with me because I'm talking about the living modern game right now. So, yeah. Little bit hot under the collar about it, sure. And it certainly encourages me not to make videos about Eberron because I'm not interested in it. I'm doing it as a service to people who don't appreciate it. Some people do, sure. And you guys know that I don't mind robust feedback. I certainly don't mind people, coming at me full, both barrels. I'm used to, particularly younger generation of people, not being able to give critical feedback without it being an insult because they just haven't been trained that way. Their entire experience with the internet is people coming at you, attacking you. And they can't take on critical feedback, or they can't give critical feedback without personally attacking somebody. So you've got to look past that sometimes and see what the actual bones of their argument is. And quite often there's there's merit to what they're saying. So you step past the personal attacks and the insults and say, oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're talking about there. Just don't take it personally, even though it is often very personal. You just got to step past that, and they will open up. Once you get into a dialogue with people, they actually open up and go, oh, you're actually listening to me. Like, you're not coming back at me with an argument and attacking me personally either. So you're not reacting the way that I've been taught that people react to criticism. Because it's not their fault. Thanks, Gadzooks. Any ideas for plot hooks to send a party to Saloon? Ooh. Could I describe the place as similar to Zalim from Battle Angels Alita, or is it easier to get? Yeah. So from the surface of the world, it looks like the moon is uninhabited, but once you actually get there, it is inhabited. So again, I need to make videos about things in order to fully understand them myself. That's what I do to learn. So I need to make a video about that, obviously. Otherwise, I can't answer your question. I have a little bit of familiarity with it, but I've sort of skipped over a lot of that. I need to get back into it. Oh, Angry Gardener. Yeah, I've got a lot of issues with White Wolf. First of all, I know damn well they used outrage culture to market their product, which is morally and ethically wrong. So I don't trust anything that they say. I don't trust a single damn thing that they say. Hey Tony, nice to see ya. You only played Eberron in 4th edition? Yeah. Hey Bear. I'm having a rant. Yeah, well, the idea behind Phyrexia is that it's like it's almost like a demonic taint, right? But it's undead as well. So that's what I love about it. It's like that demon undead contagion, technology, philosophy, and it's almost like a hive mind. So it's really compelling as a bad guy force and influence because it's got this zealot horror to it that I really love. You'd watch an Eberron focused channel. Well, that's not going to be mine. White Wolf Publishing is a publishing company. You're out of cheese? Dang. Oh, thanks, Teddy. Demonic technomancy with a hefty amount of undead to it. Life and death. Like they... Oops, sorry, I missed that one. Thanks to Wall. The problem is that people who want to change D&D are going to exclude the original fans. That's true. It's like if you wanted to reinvigorate a market, you need to bring in new fans, and that's always going to kind of conflict with the existing fans, because the existing fans want fan service. So they want the stuff that they love to be republished somehow. But they don't want any changes made to it. And a publishing company is like, well, why would we want to republish the stuff we already wrote about that already exists in their source books and things? Why do you just need another edition version of that? You can do it yourself. So really, all you need to do is say, okay, this is how you convert the old material. With 5th edition, that's extremely easy. So it's like, well... just use the existing source material and update it to the current rule set. Or if you're not even playing the current rule set, you're not going to buy the products that we put out anyway. So we're not going to put out stuff in an old setting. So there's your problem. So yeah, there's inevitably going to be some kickback against any sort of change that comes along anyway. But the question is, who's going to be spending the money? The existing fan base of the old grognards who really don't want to buy anything new because they're stuck with their old stuff and they feel threatened by anything that would possibly change the setting, which they're not supporting anyway because they've only played up to a certain point and they've not bought any products later on. So really, they don't deserve any fan service because they're not going to be paying money into the company which is producing the new content anyway. It's catch-22. So really, the best attitude to have is, wow, we've got a new setting, we've got a new game system, and I'm excited to see where they take things, what new direction they take things. Did we expect them to sort of retcon Faerun back to 2nd edition levels of everything? So the Spell Plague is over. The God's War is, the time of troubles is over. Everything is pretty much back to normal. There's still repercussions of the disaster that befell the world, but it's more like 2nd edition than ever. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think we need Phyrexian. What triggered AJ? Karen genes activated. I've got that full Gen X rant thing going on. The guys who did, Vampire the Masquerade, all of that. They're the ones who are responsible for there being so many factions in D&D. So they're responsible for the Planescape factions. They're responsible for the Harpers, the Lord's Alliance, the Emerald Enclave, the Cult of the Dragon, all those guys, right? So they made all those factions popular in role-playing in general, that it's spread out to be incorporated in so many different gaming systems because of Vampire the Masquerade and those different groups of the different tribes of dragons. Werewolf, Changeling, all those different games had those factions involved because they were basically designed to be live-action games, that like parlor games, party games and stuff, and they became almost a cultural phenomenon. Yeah, exactly, Stanchskate. D&D has a zeitgeist that's constantly changing, just like everything else. It's like a living language of geek. D&D Agretsuko Adventure. I am the most non-weeb D&D. I'm like this. I feel so anime deprived as sometimes. I have no idea what you guys are talking about when you start talking in Japanese Japanese anime shows. I'm just like, I have no idea. I understand Full Metal Alchemist and like Akira and Princess Mononoke and like One Punch Man, but there are so many. Like if it involves any sort of girl in a school uniform, I'm out. I'm out. Like, nah, not me, thanks. No thanks. Nah, don't like the Japanese pervy shit. Thank you. No, no, thank you. If it involves any girl like tearing out of her clothes and turning into a magical princess, nah. Not my thing. Not my cup of tea. Thank you very much. No thank you. One Punch Man is it breaks the chain somewhat, I think. And like Neon Evangelion Genesis, whatever. Like, there's always this one teenage boy character. It's like so angst-ridden, and then he goes on to some big philosophical rant at the end of it. It's like this trope in anime that I just hate those characters. I'm just like, oh, God. Woe is me, poor teenage boy. What do you think Stan Lee would think of the new Marvel superheroes, Safe Space and Snowflake? What? I have never heard of them. I really detest those really short Marvel cartoons they've got at the moment, like the little breakfast snippets. Like, ugh. It's like, give me a full-size show, please. I have an attention span longer than 5 seconds. The Black Furia are radical feminists, always have been mostly. White Wolf has always been putting that stuff in it. Oh, okay. Hey, thanks to Wall. Another problem is many of those who wish to change the game aren't actually fans or customers of it. We see this in video games, comic books, board games, and card games now happening everywhere. Case in point, the Thundercats Roar, for instance. Were they seriously actually producing a show, or were they just trying to disrupt the industry and create some sort of outrage, fame thing? Like some sort of feather in the hat? Because it seems very much like the creator got all that kickback and then just quit, right? And so I don't think it's even a thing now. And you see that a lot too, that like there's an agenda for making these remakes of stuff, and they change things around, and then they just abandon it and get rid of it. Like it's some idea of some executive to make some sort of product to market to who, I don't know. They're deliberately going against the current fan base of something, so they're deliberately trying to change up the original content, and then they put out that signal of like, well, it's not for you. It's like, well, who is it for? Because the people who you are marketing it to are not theatre goers. They're not consumers of the culture. They're not buying the products. So what are you doing that for? You're not making money, so why? It's crazy. It doesn't affect political change. It doesn't affect cultural change. It just affects divisiveness and anger. So who's the actual enemy? Thundercats, look, I was there, okay? I'm old enough to have been around when Thundercats first arrived. And let me tell you something. It's always been shit. It will always be shit. And your nostalgia is cringeworthy to me. It's Thundercats. Okay, Thundercats had cool stuff to it, but it's because like you could have made any cartoon with that sort of intro sequence and the magical transformation of the sword and stuff like that. That was cool. It was kind of like Conan, Master of the Universe thing, but with cat people. But it was formulaic. It borrowed a lot of elements that were just formulas from other shows. Like the young Thundercat and the animal cat familiar thingy were directly ripped off from the D&D cartoon, for instance. It was very Hanna-Barbera. And yeah, the bad guys were really horribly acted and stuff like that. It was cheesy. Silverhawks. Yep. Guardians of the Galaxy. No, not Guardians. Who are they? Oh, the Cops show with their like prosthetic arm and stuff. Nostalgia, right? But go back and watch some of those shows. Honestly, Mask. Yeah. Galaxy Rangers. That's it. Galaxy Rangers. I actually did a video game, a role-playing game session of Galaxy Rangers, which ended with a hail of bazooka fire, which took out the enemies really quickly. I actually watched a couple of the episodes of that She-Ra. It wasn't too bad. It was kind of like blah. It's like they want to be edgy, but they're also really, really weak storylines and plots. Like they never go dark. They never go really dark on those shows. It's like, I am the power, blah, blah, blah. And they're conflicted and stuff, but they never go fully like 1980s dark, I'm waiting. I want to see some millennials who actually get some nuts and write some stories that are really political commentaries and things like that. Like are really reflective of what they feel and think. Not what they are signaling, but what they actually believe. I want to see some real nuts and bolts social commentary in cartoons and things. Oh yeah, there's value in nostalgia, Kick-Ass Duke. I'm just saying, don't put. Yeah, let's be real. Like it was what it was. Transformers, for instance, was like, yeah. I remember it took the Transformers movie before we actually saw some Transformers get shot and die, and then everybody was like, their energy blasts which blow things up actually kill people. And like the A-Team, for instance, nobody ever gets shot in the A-Team, and everybody's like firing 50,000 bullets. It's like, come on. Gargoyles was pretty good. Yep. Had a good storyline, interesting characters. Yeah, Disney is making a lot of money. Hasbro is making a lot of money. We should thank Hasbro daily that they support Dungeons and Dragons, and it's paid off. But I just wish that these corporations would get away from this model that they have in Hollywood and other places, where they give executives budgets and say, okay, you got a budget, now go away and make money, and it's on you if it fails. It's like, so what happens is the executive gets overly involved, scared about anything, and starts micromanaging it, and turns the intellectual property that they've bought and are using into the safe hedge your bets crap. What they really need to do is realize that Deadpool and other sort of movies and stuff that cater to a more hard-edged adult audience and stuff, and were true to the source material, did far better because they broke away from that safe, politically correct bullshit that is being forced down our throats. Give us a D&D movie where people get their arms and legs chopped off and then healed and stitched back together again. Give us really horrible, vile monsters, Give us give us a Donald Trump beholder, Really hit the nail on the head, Don't be worried about offending people. Try to offend people. We'll love it more. Entirely hippie naked society. That's right, DeWall. True. Pork chops. Yeah, so Hasbro is trying to mitigate the toxic fandom of Magic the Gathering, which is true, I suppose. like I've dealt with the Magic the Gathering fandom myself. I am a player of Magic the Gathering, so I'm a part of that fandom. So it's not entirely toxic. But there's a lot of lore that's written for those cards and things, which I think a lot of the fandom of Magic the Gathering doesn't pay any attention to. They just want to play the game. So really, they haven't got any right to, like, I think D&D has a right to that lore. And I think Hasbro has done a good thing by combining the two fandoms in a way, crossing the streams, you could say. Because there's a lot more crossover between Magic the Gathering fans and D&D fans than I think the Magic the Gathering card players, not lore followers, really realise. And that's fine. And it makes really good D&D settings, so why not? It's ours now. You can't have it back. Sorry. Thanks, William. Watchmen. Perfect example. Yeah. Gummy Bears is awesome. I actually watched a couple of those. They're not bad. Bear in mind, I'm not knocking social justice. I'm knocking people who use that as a narcissistic tool to get ahead in whatever social standing they believe they have to gain by it. So they're doing it in a destructive fashion. They're doing it in a bullying fashion as a means to control other people. And I don't care where you're coming from, that's evil. Controlling people is evil. So to political, yeah, it is a bit political, but we're talking about the fandom, so. Trump is a Bandersnatch. Could be. I mean, he started off in showbiz. It's legit. He's a personality. I'd be saying that even if he wasn't a president. Grizzly bears, always grizzly bears. Yeah, Book of Vile Darkness, the D&D movie, The Book of Vile Darkness, had some good moments in it. Like the undead child, for instance, will haunt me to the rest of my days. Some other aspects of that movie, like the overly aggressive thief killer guy, he was like so murder hobo, it was crazy. The Goliath was, I don't think, even understood what a Goliath is. But they tried. They actually went to the Shadowfell, which was cool. Yeah, Matt Lynn. There's a bunch of Magic the Gathering angst amongst the fans due to spending tens of thousands of dollars on the second-hand market for cardboard. They're anti-proxy, which would be considered homebrewed by D&D players. Well, fair enough. It affects the game and the probabilities of the cards showing up and stuff like that. So proxies would damage the value of the cards that they've invested in because they spend a lot of money on the rarity of those cards. So getting rid of the rarity, of course, makes their value meaningless. On the other hand, though, Hasbro printing cards that warped and curled because they were made of substandard cardboard, that also wiped out the economy of the cards as well because they were worthless as second-hand cards. Like, take them out of the pack and they start curling. That's crazy. Hasbro cutting costs on the card manufacture is exactly the same as D&D putting out the really shitty binding on the 5th edition books when they first came out. It was crazy. You don't cut costs like that. Or at the very least, if you're going to get something manufactured in China, you form a relationship with the manufacturer and you get a person from your company to go to China, to go to the factory where they're being manufactured, and you quality check it yourself in person. It's that simple. They didn't do due diligence. And as a result, it cost them a lot of money. What's that, Dragon Ball? What would happen if a Solar were to become a Lich? I don't even know if they could, honestly. We have seen an example. There is a few examples of fallen angels who have become corrupted, but they still stay celestials. There's a couple of examples. Well, like Zariel, for instance. So yeah, they're still immortals. So they I think they kind of become more devilish, more fiendish. No, that's fine, Kurt. Yeah, you're not wrong. Magic the Gathering is definitely pay to win. Thanks, Kickass Duke. I need a good rant today. I think we all do. Thanks to Wall. D&D, Magic the Gathering, and others are infinitely branchable. They really don't need to be changed, just let them branch. Yeah, exactly. Like we're constantly exploring new aspects of Dominaria and the history of Magic the Gathering and the expansion into different planes and the activities of the Planewalkers. There's a lot of Planeswalkers. So, yeah. And, yeah, of course, the War of Nicobolas and the War of the Spark, that sort of stuff. It's interesting. In many ways, Magic the Gathering gives us an example of exactly what D&D can't be because of the slow speed that new sourcebooks and stuff are released for Dungeons and Dragons and the resistance of fans of any sort of change. Magic the Gathering, on the other hand, is a rapid progression of change and expansion of the lore because each new card set that comes out has that lore attached to it and it progresses the universe of Magic the Gathering. So there's an awful lot of backstory of history and stuff. So we've got very rich pickings in Magic the Gathering to use. And of course, it's exciting to take on board as a role-playing topic because you can actually follow along with the political and historical events of Magic the Gathering as they unfold and adapt them into your D&D games. So I'm all for them incorporating it into the... You ever watch MASH? Mobile Army... MASH? You mean the TV show MASH? Yeah. Dude, I think everyone in the entire world has seen MASH. Why do you ask, Stanchgate? Doom Eternal. Again, I'm not a video game person. Also, yeah, I've watched the Witcher thingy on Netflix. I tried playing the second Witcher game, maybe the first Witcher game. Couldn't really get into it. MASH, the legendary show and movie about the Korean War. Yes. INOC Social Justice. It was created specifically for the purpose of advocating social Marxism. Yeah. Tell me what's wrong about Marxism, DeWall. Third wave feminism has brought so many new factions, many congealed into toe-aggressive. I don't know. MASH curveball, yeah. What? I only know the theme song of MASH from the old Knuckles meme. What? So you guys are so young you've never seen MASH? Is that true? Hogan's Heroes. If Grumpf was raised to demigod status of arcane magic, if enough male drow followed him, would he have enough power to challenge Lolth? Lolth, as we've seen time and time again, doesn't need a lot of power to assassinate other gods. She manipulates other entities into doing her dirty work for her. She's extremely manipulative. Hey, so how about D&D? Exactly. Let's curb back the floodgates on political stuff and just talk about Dungeons and Dragons, because that's really what I've been talking about. I've been talking about fandom and stuff. Is it conceivable that the Giants would ever reclaim the ancient Underdark cities from the Drow? No. The Giants would be smart enough to use the Drow, not go in there and try and destroy them. Because the Drow own the Underdark, for the most part. The average age of my viewers is 18 to 35. That's right. MASH was a great show. Still is. Podcast. This isn't a podcast. This is me just talking to you over with a camera. I'm having a conversation. I'm not putting on a broadcast. My views are my own, and I'll talk about whatever the fuck I want. Thank you very much. Oh, come on. I've been talking about D&D lore the entire way through. Magic the Gathering is D&D lore. Yeah, so the upcoming war between the Giants and the Dragons is fascinating to me. Like, I see it clearly sort of signposted in the D&D lore. But I don't know if they necessarily will push it as a world-changing agenda for like a 6th edition type thing, like Faerun at war. It's more like it's on the cusp, and it's something that you can have blow over into a full-on campaign across the entire world if you want to. But it's a slow boil. Like, it's been 30,000 years since the last major conflict between these two powers. And they're very much both sort of regressed and slow to sort of kick off anyway. The interesting thing is that the dragon deities, Bahamut and Tiamat, as you'll discover in the video that I'm going to be posting tonight, are lesser deities in the dragon pantheon. They're not the greater gods that you think they are. It's just because they're very involved in the world of Toril specifically. That's their staging ground. So that is their, Toril is their Vietnam sort of thing, where these two major powers are fighting it out, and Toril is in the crossfire. So that's why you've got that sort of thing. And a lot of people are forgetting about Abeir. Abeir is owned, it was given over by AO to primordials and dragons. Dragons own and rule Abeir. So they've got a world of their own. They don't really need to, they don't have this huge pressure to take over Toril quite so much as they used to. So, it's interesting. You can take it many different ways. Well, I'm 47, Hazel, so you're not too old. I'm young for a wizard, let's put it that way. Yeah, I know, Gadzu, because it's like, I don't like, I haven't read that. I don't watch that. Don't ask me those questions about that stuff. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care about anime. Don't care. Yeah, people asking you, Matt Colville, how should I live? It's like, I don't know. I just write stuff about D&D. Cosmic geography lesson, yeah, we all do. What would Strahd do if he made it out of Ravenloft? Well, he's a vampire, so he'd kill a lot of people. He's got his own agenda. Like, Strahd's in a loop, you could say. In his own sort of, he's happy enough. He's not so much trapped in Ravenloft as he is poised in Ravenloft like a spider in a nest, you could say. Yikes. Oh, yeah, I've seen Ghost in the Shell. Ghost in the Shell is so 1980s. It might as well all be wearing shoulder pads. See, back when Ghost in the Shell was written, the idea of an emergent AI personality or a personality being absorbed into machines, for instance, like these days, we kind of think of the idea of somebody uploading their mentality into a computer network as inevitable someday. Like it's going to happen at some point where we will actually be the AI that we develop. We'll just make machines that are capable of holding a human consciousness. So then the question is, but back then that idea was wholly new to people, and they were exploring. They were dipping their toe in the idea of a full body conversion cyborg, and what does it actually mean to be a human if you can replace all these parts of your body, even possibly your brain. So the idea of flesh not being sacred anymore is really what the exploration of Ghost in the Shell was all about. Power dressing, yeah, exactly. Thanks to all. Oh, is that what you're talking about? You're talking about the Marxist thing. Yeah, I don't really care about Marxism. I'm a whatchamacallit, transhumanist. All that we know is going to go away. It's going to go away. It's going to change. Humanity as we know it will change. What did I think 2020 would be like when I was 20? I thought we would be living on Mars by this stage. I thought we were going to have moon colonies and living on Mars and have a lot more space-based stuff. So I was sort of bitterly disappointed that there was a massive stall in budget cuts for our space exploration program. So that's been the greatest disappointment of my life, really, is the fact that we don't have more stuff going on in space right now. As for society, I think it's become dystopian at pretty much about the right time, really. As soon as we get into the age of information, essentially all the secrets and stuff and stuff that regimes and stuff have been trying to conceal inevitably come out in the open. I think there's a point now where people need to realize that you can't keep secrets anymore in the age of information. That's kind of part and parcel with it. You can't have an information age and an age of secrets as well. So it was the death of the Cold War. It was the death of whatchamacallit. Oligarchs. Yeah, I agree. Altered Carbon is really better than Ghost in the Shell. I think I actually posted the stats for me. Oh no, that's true to Wall. Yep, and you answered it. It's more like what relevance does Marxism have? It's a non-existent political structure that doesn't actually, it's not represented in the world anywhere. Yeah, so genetic hacking, for instance, is a thing. Is there any race more screwed over by Forgotten Realms being the default 5e setting than Dragonborn? Yeah, Furbolgs. Furbolgs. Hard Furbolgs. I don't know. What's my favourite Spelljammer ship type? Hammerhead, I think. Just for its simplicity, really. It's classic Spelljammer ship. Yeah, I think like the emergent AI that we've got right now is Google. Google is an emergent AI. It's observing your behavior and modifying your information bubble to suit. So that's an emergent AI. Artificial intelligence doesn't have to look like human intelligence. It's exactly what we made it to be. Our behavior dictates how it reacts to us. So Google has created an AI. It's operating right now in our society, and it's guiding what we do. It's doing it in a very subtle way that isn't obvious, because obviously we would rile back against anything that was obviously manipulating us. But Google is definitely manipulating us. It's a thing. It's an emergent AI right now. But what I'm talking about is we see intelligence as being a human thing. So something that we can relate to and try and understand, even though we don't fully understand our intelligence itself. So there will come a point where somebody will upload their consciousness to a machine, and they'll become not an artificial intelligence, but a synthetic intelligence. So you'll switch over to being an organic to being a synthetic being, with all the rights and privileges that you're entitled to as a living person. He says on a Google platform. Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, you become a computer lich, essentially. Oh, Furbolgs got so shafted. When I make a video on the Furbolgs history and the Highlands, and there's an entire territory. There is an entire territory as larger than the Sword Coast, including the Villon Reach, not the Villon Reach, including like the Nenthir Vale and what's the name of it? The Desserin Valley, all of that. This big icy region, which is populated by Furbolgs, an entire culture which was involved with the last son of Anam, Heartkiller, and the Furbolgs and the Frost Giants and Gertie Odin's daughter. Gertie Odin's daughter? No. Gertie Otar's daughter? No, I don't know. But yeah, all of that. Agreed, Kikastu. We require at least one other inhabited planet. Unless, of course, we get blasted by a gamma ray from a nearby supernova, in which case it'll torch the entire solar system. But hey, that's what you get. Exactly, Angry Garden Gnome. Yeah, one of the things I keep saying to people is like, stop calling it artificial intelligence. You're going to offend it. You're going to be looking back on this in a decade or so and cringing hard at every time we've said artificial intelligence. It's like, oh, it's going to be it's going to be a racial slur of the future. They're synthetic intelligences. An intelligence is an intelligence. It doesn't matter what it's made out of. You hope for an arc where the fire giants invade. Yeah, that would be cool. Well, that's what I'm saying. We won't realize that we're pets. We're talking about an order of an intelligence which is much higher than our own. So any technology which is sufficiently advanced will be like magic to us. So we won't know that we're being manipulated by an AI, essentially, that takes over the world and its finances and our social media consumption and our social networks, our product buying, all of that sort of stuff. So we're in a state right now where I'm communicating to you over a computer network. That computer network can be manipulated in many subtle ways. So yeah, an emergent synthetic intelligence that is beyond human oversight could essentially realize that we build the network. We're the termites which are building its nervous system. It needs to maintain us and optimize us and get us to spread to other places. So it may be that the space race will be kicked off by the Google AI for self-preservation. Look how many satellites are being put up into space right now. What are we launching? Machine probes. Not manned missions. Probes. What happens when they come back? Cylons! Yeah. Well, it's time for me to go, everybody. I've actually been here for an hour and 38 minutes so far. And I want to get that dragon video uploaded pretty much straight away. So there'll be something for you to watch for the rest of the day, or the evening, or wherever you are. A beholder of some kind, yeah. Yeah, synthetic intelligence is an emergent elder brain. Well, it's a primordial. You could put it that way. Yes, the mead bottling. I might actually have a little video where I sample the mead, although it'll be pretty raw. It needs to sit until November is when I'm going to be opening up the first of those. Oh, it's 7 p.m. Okay. Well, stay tuned. I'll have a video up for you very shortly. Yeah, slightly earlier stream. Usually like 9 or 10. Or 10 or 11 in my case. Yeah, hit the like button, everybody. Go buy a t-shirt. Actually, would anybody like a t-shirt design of that, the 9-headed dragon? The 9-fold dragon? Because I might, I was thinking about doing one of those. Sorry, what am I answering? Oh, I thought you were addressing somebody called For the Love of the Page. I'm using the Sarastone as a Lovecraft old god on the verge of being released. Any tips on how to show the elemental power and madness affecting the world? I like this question. Oh, I see. He answered. Oh, I see. Yeah, I thought you were having a private conversation with somebody in the chat. Using Sarastone as a Lovecraft old god on the verge of being released. Any tips on how to show the elemental power and madness affecting the world? So essentially, all of the beholders become points of consciousness they become the angels of Sarastone. So imagine that the new divine order is no longer celestials, it's aberrations. So aboleths, mind flayers, beholders, that sort of thing. Freaky, right? So they're now like raising people from the dead and healing things and morphing them into different life forms and changing the environment to exotic different environments at will. So yeah, more sort of chaos, I suppose. Hey, J-Rod. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, it's a far out concept. Literally changes reality as we think of it in D&D. As Sarastone comes out again, yeah. All right, we'll end it on that nice note. Catch you later, everybody.